Hey guys, it's Misty from the Book Rat, and it is time for another First Impressions video. This is part 2. The links to all of the books as well as the description is in the info, so make sure you check that out if you're curious what the book is about. So for our round 2 books, we're looking at these guys, which is The Incredible Adventures of Cinnamon Girl by Melissa Keel, or Kyle, I'm not sure. Love, Lies, and Spies by Cindy Yancey, and Keep Me in Mind by Jamie Reed. I'll start with Keep Me in Mind because that's what's in my hand. And I did have people asking for first impressions of this one, probably because they were curious about me describing it as an amnesia romance. And I don't remember who mentioned While You Were Sleeping, but yes, you're right. Amnesia romance can be good because I love While You Were Sleeping. Neither here nor there though. So from what I can gather from this one, it's told in alternating POVs between the male and female character, Ellia and the guy. Liam. And though I think it has the potential to be really interesting because you're starting off right at the beginning with Ellia having lost her memory, or at least her recent memory. She's kind of lost the last couple of years in which her and Liam have fallen in love and made these plans and have this fantastic relationship, and he's still in that and she doesn't even recognize him. So I think it could be an interesting story of kind of refinding herself and re-falling in love, or it could go the route of kind of heartbreak because she might never re-fall in love. Maybe that time has passed and she's not that person anymore. So I think you're kind of left on that bubble of wondering what's going to happen. And I think it can also raise those questions of, you know, are you the same person without your experiences? If you're missing this huge chunk of time and you don't have those links and those connections anymore, are you even you? And will she be the person that Liam fell in love with? So I think it can be a really interesting delving into all of that. That said, something about it just felt a little off. It's a little hard to describe, but sometimes when you're watching like a TV show or something, you can still really like it, but find it really unrealistic, you know, in the way the characters act or the way they speak, or, you know, their banter can seem just too scripted, too written. And that was sort of how I felt with this. It just felt a little scripted. It didn't feel completely natural. I mean, it wasn't like jarringly so. Plenty of people probably won't have an issue with this, but for me, it just felt slightly off. There was always a little niggling something that was saying, do you believe these guys yet? And from the section that I read, I didn't really believe them. That's not to say I won't grow to like them, and it's not to say I won't grow to like the story. But if I were just picking this up in a bookstore and reading the first little bit, I probably would have put it back down just because it felt a little off in the characterization and a little bit cheesy, and those are two things that will kind of drive me away. However, I do think it will definitely find its audience. I think there are a lot of people that won't be as nitpicky as me that will love this, and I think it has the potential to be a really interesting story, so take my drawbacks with a grain of salt, but I kind of ended up with it a little rocky. Then we have Love, Lies, and Spies, which is a historical romance from Swoon Reads. It's definitely a romance because it's from Swoon Reads, but also I think maybe silly, lighthearted adventure and intrigue story. With the spies, I don't know what would be giving me that impression. I'm not telling you anything that's probably not obvious about this. From the section I read, I really don't have any idea of the plot yet. We hadn't gotten into the meat of anything, but it feels like a historical that non-historical lovers could probably get behind. It doesn't feel very bogged down in being historical. It doesn't feel overwritten or like they had to use the most grandiose language and syntax the way some historical romance authors do. It felt very accessible to all readers and casual and kind of playful. So I think for maybe die-hard historicals who like those really overwrought stories, maybe you won't like this, but for most people, I think it will come across very fun and probably a quick read, so that's a point in its favor as far as I'm concerned. I do think that the flirty banter might get to be too much. It might overwhelm the story and become too much of a focus, just from the section I read, but that said, I do love a good amount of flirty banter, so it's one of those things where I'm just gonna have to read it and see. And all in all, I think it can be one of those really fun and bright reads that just makes you laugh and makes you happy, so I guess only time will tell, but so far, so good. And then lastly, we have The Incredible Adventures of Cinnamon Girl by Melissa Keel is what I'm gonna go with. I don't know, but that's what I'm going with. And this one, I think, is my winner of the batch. The voice and the quirkiness is just there and in your face right off the bat. If you're not a quirky fan, then probably not for you, but you guys know I love me some quirk. This has it in spades. I like the main character right away. I'm really curious to see where it's going. As far as this whole doomsday end of the world plotline, I like that there are kind of comics and art sprinkled throughout, and I'm curious to see how they will work into the story. I think voice-wise and tone-wise, it has the potential to become a real hit with me because I like strong voice and I like memorable characters, and I think this is probably going to have that. My only drawback, and this is just a personal pet peeve of mine, is repeated use of characters' names when characters are talking. It feels so unnatural. Like if you're talking to your friend Sam, you don't keep saying like, "Hey Sam, how are you Sam? What you doing today Sam?" Unless you're trying to get on their nerves. Like humans don't talk like that generally. Whoever you're talking to, the you is implied. Like I'm talking to you guys right now, and I don't keep saying, "Hey you viewers." Like you guys know I'm talking to you. If you're talking to your mom knows you're talking to her. Unless you're trying to get someone's attention, or you're speaking about a person specifically, you don't really use their name very much. Now this could just be because it was the beginning of the story and she was trying to establish who was who, but if it continues it's gonna just get under my skin because that's one of my pet peeves in stories. It's just so unnatural. That said, I can get over it if the story is good, and I think the story is gonna be good. So that is what I thought of these three. Definitely a keeper, probably a keeper, maybe a keeper, I'm not sure yet. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and which one of them you most want to read, if any. And if you have read them, let us know your thoughts. If you missed part one, you can check that out here wherever the little card pops up. That was a bunch of fantasy things that looked like this. And I think there are some good ones in that stack, so I would say go check it out. But otherwise, that is all for this video. Looking forward to chatting with you in the comments. Next time I see you will hopefully be a very silly vlog, if I can ever get it finished. But until then, that's all for now. Thank you guys for watching, and happy reading!